David K. Johnston for joining us today and sharing that insight. Now we move the focus on to Gaza. The world is being urged to step up aid to Gaza. The head of the International Committee of the Red Cross has said that states must act now. Mirjana Spoljaric says momentum from the first phase of the ceasefire must be used to ease dire humanitarian conditions. Meanwhile, Israel says the Rafah border crossing will reopen on 1st of February. It will allow travel between Gaza and Egypt, but only for residents who left during the war and only after Israeli security clearance. Rafah is Gaza's main gateway and the sole route for most of its more than 2 million people. Israel seized the crossing in May 2024. Its reopening follows the recovery of the last Israeli hostage's body and is part of the first phase of a US-backed ceasefire plan agreed in October last year. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Yossi Cooper-Wasser. He's an Israeli intelligence and security expert, joins us live from Tel Aviv. Thank you very much, Mr. Yossi, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Now, looking at this Rafah border crossing, how significant will the reopening be, and what would it mean for both Israel, Egypt, and people in Gaza?
Well, I think first of all it's significant because it's simply a manifestation of the fact that the last hostage has been returned to Israel, and we can move forward towards implementing the second stage of the Trump plan for Gaza. And in the context of this plan, we are opening the crossing for people to cross both outside of Gaza and inside into Gaza. And yes, those who are going to cross into Gaza are going to go through inspection by, not directly, but indirectly by Israel, and to make sure that we don't see any terrorists coming in. But the way out is going to be free. And I hope that this is going to ease some of the pressures that the Gazan population are feeling throughout this war. And on top of that, I must say that what the head of the Red Cross was saying about the scarcity of humanitarian aid and food in Gaza is ridiculous. We allow 4,200 trucks every week to enter Gaza. The real problem in Gaza is that there is too much food, and it's kept by the Hamas in order to prevent pressures against them to disarm. That's the problem, because the core of the second stage of the plan is the disarming of Hamas and their removal from power. So the Palestinian technocratic government is already preparing to cross into Gaza this coming Sunday, and this is a nice move in the right direction. But Hamas is not willing to disarm, so it's only a partial move. And because Hamas refuses to disarm, there's no way to form the international stabilization force that is supposed to be responsible for security in the Gaza Strip, because no international body is ready to fight against Hamas. And this is the problem that we see right now: how we manage to convince Hamas to disarm.
Right. So how will that be possible? Like, what cards does the world have to dismantle Hamas or disarm Hamas?
Well, I think there are two leverages that can be put in place. One is that there is not going to be any reconstruction as long as Hamas doesn't disarm, and there's not going to be international powers coming to replace it. And that means that Hamas is responsible for the fact that there is no reconstruction of Gaza, because Israel is ready to allow reconstruction provided that Hamas disarms, and they refuse to do that. And the second leverage that we have is that we are ready, if necessary, to carry out a military operation to disarm Hamas by force. And we almost did it before the Trump plan was agreed upon. And this was the main reason why Hamas was ready to release the hostages, because they were afraid that we should go all the way and remove them from power and disarm them by force. And if necessary, we should be able to resume this threat. We are not trigger happy, but if necessary, we shall do what needs to be done.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Yossi, for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now we stay in Gaza and Israel. Israel's military has reported that it has launched airstrikes overnight, killing 3 terrorists in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. This comes as a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas remains in place. However, both sides have alleged repeated violations of the truce terms. The Israeli military has stated that it had identified 8 terrorists emerging from underground in Rafah and struck, eliminating 3 of them. Further operations continue in the area to remove any remaining threats. Humanitarian conditions in Gaza remain critical, with more than 2 million people affected by displacement and winter weather. The opening of the Rafah crossing is expected to allow limited movement and the entry of a Palestinian administrative committee to help oversee daily operations under the ceasefire. The second phase also includes the disarmament of Hamas, a process that has been met with resistance from the group. Israel is set to withdraw, with international peacekeepers set to replace them. Now for this, we welcome back Mr. Yossi Cooper-Rosser. He's an Israeli intelligence and security expert, joins us live from Tel Aviv. Thank you very much, Mr. Cooper-Rosser, for staying with us. Now, how do you analyze the readiness of phase 2?
Well, as I said, the incident in Rafah just tells you how fragile this ceasefire is in the first place. Hamas repeatedly tries to carry out terror attacks from the territories that they control, the 47% that they control of Gaza. But whenever it's possible for them to carry out attacks from the area that is under Israeli control, they are not shy about doing that too. That's what happened this last night. And we were attacked. So this entire ceasefire is very fragile. We want to move forward with the implementation of stage 2, but as long as Hamas is there and continues to articulate its commitment to fighting against Israel and destroying it, it's very hard to see considerable progress. And as I said, I think that as long as this is the case, we are going to continue to allow the entry of food and humanitarian aid, and we shall allow people to cross through the Rafah crossing. But we shall not allow any reconstruction, and the reconstruction is dependent on the readiness of Hamas to disarm or the disarmament of Hamas by other means.
Right. And do you think that U.S. and Israel has any disalignment now regarding the implementation of phase 2?
No, not at all. I think that the Americans see this issue eye to eye with Israel, and they repeatedly demand that Hamas will disarm. President Trump repeated this message just yesterday. And it's very clear to the Americans that disarming Hamas is a precondition for moving forward and implementing the reconstruction plan and the ideas of making Gaza into a flourishing area with tourism and Riviera and whatever have you. But this is not going to happen before Hamas is disarmed. And the Americans are totally on the same page with Israel.
With that, I would like
there are some other disagreements about the role of Turkey and Qatar in this. And that we disagree, but this is a different story.
Right. So why is there disagreement about Turkey and Qatar's involvement?
Because we consider Turkey and Qatar as supporters of Hamas. They host Hamas terrorists, they host Hamas commanders and leaders. They are members of, they are very close to the Muslim Brotherhood, that Hamas is the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. And they are interested in Hamas continuing to control Gaza. And yes, they are committed to the disarmament of Hamas because they promised the United States that this is what's going to happen. But they are trying all kinds of tricks in order to say one thing and do something else. And we cannot trust them because we know that they are very close to Hamas. The Americans say that they played an important role in convincing Hamas to release the hostages, and because of that, they got to have something in return. We are ready to live with Turkey and Qatar being members of the Board of Peace Executive Committee. But we don't want to let any troops from these countries deploy in the Gaza Strip.
With that, I would like to thank Mr. Cooper Rosser for joining us today and sharing that insight. Now we move on to our tech news.